You're listening to KEXP at 90.3 FM and at kexp.org, streaming worldwide. I'm Cheryl Waters, and I never thought I would say I'm pleased to welcome Western State Hurricanes live to the KEXP studios. That's a pretty exciting thing.
Yeah, the last time we would have played on KEXP, was it still KCMU?
It was KCMU, and I don't think we had an actual official performance studio. That's when we had bands jam into the DJ booth and just talk on the guest mic, or maybe pull out an instrument or two and a couple of spoons and tap their foot.
Yeah, this is exciting. It's really great to be back together like this.
I want to talk about that. We're all very excited. Of course, I think of you as a legendary band of the Seattle music scene. I was fortunate enough to get to see you perform back in the day. And
I thought you were about to say that you were 14 when we played.
Oh, I wish you were 14 back then. But it's so exciting to have you here. You've got a couple of shows. You are playing a listening party at Life on Mars tonight up on Capitol Hill. And then tomorrow and Saturday playing at the Tractor Tavern. There's still a few tickets left for the Friday night show, so people are going to want to hop on that. Saturday sold out. And you got your guitars and instruments strapped on. Pull out those spoons and let's see what you got. It's Western State Hurricanes live on KEXP.
Some things I don't want to hear about. Can you figure out what it was? You told me I should leave you out of our love affair because you're all through with love. You figured out what it was. You're all through with love. Two drinks and you're so proud. You've got it all wrapped up. But I don't have a thing to show now. The highways turn to dust and you're all through with love. You figured out what it was. You're all through with love. Now the highways turn to dust and you're all through with love. I've been a big mistake. All babies look the same.
It's Western State Hurricanes live on KEXP. Through with Love is the name of that one. And you got another one coming?
Yeah, that's the name of our record, too.
We want to talk about that for sure.
Hit it, man. What's the song?
Copernicus?
Thank you.
We caught an honest buzz, you caught us, called it dangerous. I doubt I made a sound, you thought it was erotica, erotica, erotica. We caught a cough, a smile. Now I can't tell plaid from ill. You doubt my world is round. You're right, I was Copernicus. You're right, I was. You're right, I was Copernicus. I know where his house is and you don't. If you know where his house is, then you go. I know where his house is and you don't. If you know where his house is, then you go. I don't think you know. I don't think you know. You don't have to wait to come undone. I don't want Christ about to call me. You don't have to wait to come undone. But I don't want Christ about to call me. I don't want Christ about to call me. I know the moments come and are gone, but I don't want to wait. I don't want to Hail in the rain on the lake tonight. Into the lake now, way to go. Someone made a mistake tonight, and they're blaming it all on you. Swimming told me you waited too long. Wait for the light now, way to go. Hold the rope, they're gonna hang you from. Blaming it all on you. Blaming it all on you. You don't have to wait to come undone. I don't want Christ about to call me. You don't have to wait to come undone. I don't want Christ about to call me. I don't want Christ about to call me. I know the moments come and are gone, but I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. That's
You're listening to Western State Hurricanes live on KEXP, playing songs from the record Through with Love, the long-awaited Western State Hurricanes record. And before we talk about that, I want to step back to the late 90s for a minute. I mean, the Western State Hurricanes hit the Seattle music scene like a storm, and these cleverly crafted songs with tormented lyrics juxtaposed with beautiful melodies. And the Seattle scene didn't know what hit them, and it was such a short-lived little period. Many people just started to hear about the band, and then they missed their opportunity to see you live. Can you, and we're so fortunate to have all the original members here today, can you all introduce yourselves and maybe give us a little walk down memory lane, how you met, how this little outfit got started? Stephanie?
Well, my name's Stephanie Emery. I was Stephanie Wicker back then. You want me to speak about, or are we just introducing first?
Whatever you want to do. We can do a little round robin, or
Go crazy, Steph.
Well,
Tell the story.
you can tell the band's biography.
John and I met at the Crocodile, and we
As everything happened in the 1990s.
That's right. We met at a show where he was in the Bunn Family Players and I was in Algae, and we played a bill together, and we got to yakking at the bar after, and realized that we kind of had a lot of musical things in common. And I, at that time, was wanting to become a music producer. So I said, come over, I want to record you. And then, so he came over, and I recorded him, and I added some goo, and then I gave him a tape with all the added goo, and he's like, oh, I think we should maybe do something with this. And now I'll punt.
Well, and then I knew Michael and Bo because they were both party boys. Pretty boys, really.
Thank you.
But they were...
You fell into that category as well.
Oh, that's sweet of you. But they were glam, they were kind of rocking the fingernail polish at the time, which was a pretty big deal.
I was anyway. Michael wasn't.
But they were great players, and I asked them all to come together with me and Stephanie to make a demo. Because they were all in other bands, of course. We were all in other bands. Let's make a demo, and then I'll take the demo and find a real band. But once we started playing, it was kind of first or second practice that we all looked at each other and said,
Those are pretty cool.
yeah, maybe we're the band. So, it was a time in Seattle when indie rock hadn't fully gelled yet. Grunge was dying or dead. And there was that space, that 3 or 4 years where there were so many bands here and such a great scene. And, I don't think the world ever really appreciated how much music there was here.
I feel fortunate to have been around then and seen. I saw Severna Park and Algae and so many of the Bunn Family Players and so many great bands back then. And of course, the age going out all the time, living at the Crocodile. I think, did you all play the Sit and Spin? I feel like I saw.
Oh, yeah, a million
That was
times.
where we met Death Cab for Cutie. They opened for us at the Sit and Spin. Both of us were opening for Man Ray.
I think I was at that show.
Yeah. And then after the show, the Death Cab kids came up and were like, and they just seemed like kids then. They were like, wow, we need to start playing
They
together.
were kids.
Yeah, I guess they were.
And you did a bit of touring. You kind of went after it and toured with Death Cab, went down to South by Southwest, did the band thing. But, it was less than a year, the life of this fabulous band. And you want to talk? I don't want to take you into dark territory, but John, just knowing you personally over the years, I know you wanted to write songs, you wanted to make music, you wanted people to hear that music, and sort of the picture of what you thought that would be wasn't what you thought that would be. And
I was still in that part of life where I thought that if you had a band that was as good as we were, that you would all live together in a big house like the Beatles in Help. And you would just be a band forever. And it was such a heady time. There was so much music, and we all were coming into it with a lot of our own personal attitude, right? I mean, Bo was saying the other day that his bass lines... Well, go ahead.
What was I saying about my bass lines?
Oh, just that.
Oh, yeah. Part of this process has been like, because I never stopped playing music, but like going back and listening, relearning these parts has been like kind of getting punched in the face by my 26-year-old self over and over again, because how hard we were working to just be as creative as possible. And if a song sounded at all like sort of conventional, we'd be like, how can we make this just really weird and do this? And so there's choices I was making back then, like creatively, that I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking, but it worked.
That's
Yeah,
part of
that's
what
the thing is it just worked.
we've loved about practicing is that we keep finding these things in the songs where we're like, why would we have done that? What could we have been thinking? It made it 3 times as hard to play.
Yeah, that was for me part of excuse me. That was part of the allure of this band. Was I took Bo to see the Bunn Family Players because Bo and I were playing in a band that had 20-minute songs, and I was like, I want to play 3.5-minute songs. So I took him to see the Bunn Family Players, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's amazing. This guy's incredible. So we went and got together, and that was kind of how I think I introduced you to.
Yeah,
introduced you
Michael
to John.
wrote me into it.
It was like I wanted to take some pop and throw in some prog, and I was like, I know just the guy.
That's right.
Barely prog, but yeah.
Well, you had this thing going and you made some demo recordings, and I know that you sold some of those at shows. And Phil Eck,
Cassette
your
tapes, yeah.
coworker at the Off Ramp at the time, of course now a producer of huge acclaim, but he did some work with you and you worked with some other people, but none of those ever really saw the light of day. So in essence, Through With Love, is this the Western State Hurricanes' debut record and long awaited? It's like the understatement of 2 decades.
Yeah, we're eligible for Best New Artist at the Grammys in 2020 or 21, so keep that in mind. Yeah, the record never came out, and so this past year, Pete Greenberg at Leighton Print Records contacted me, and he was like, that record, where is it? And I was like, it's on a shelf. It doesn't sound very good. And Pete really spearheaded the effort to get the tapes out, and then once I heard them and realized that, with new technology and stuff, I could kind of resurrect them. I just dove right in, and it was like going on a long vacation, except it was a long vacation to 1999, and it was like some of the best weeks of the last year for me.
So did that come first before the band got back together?
Yeah, once I heard the record, I asked them all to come in, and everybody came and sat on the floor and listened to the record, and I think we all.
It was shocking because John kind of just sort of disappeared with Floyd from Studio Litho, and hearing later, just there's not time to talk about all the crazy stuff they did to bring these tapes back to life. But when I heard some of those first tracks, because I had heard the really bad versions, because we had abandoned recording this in 1999, and when I first heard the remixed tracks, I was just overwhelmed. I'm getting a little choked up right now thinking about it because it's like it sounds like a record. It sounds real, and it just was 20 years sitting on a shelf, and somehow John and Floyd, did a little doodad and did a little whatnot, and next thing you know, it sounds brand new.
Well, now it is a real record, and tell me about it. It's a beautiful vinyl. You've got some great artwork. I mean, tell me how people can get it, what it looks like.
Well, again, credit to Pete Greenberg. He really, without him, it wouldn't have happened. He spearheaded the whole thing, and we did a crowdfunding, and Pete put the shows at the Tractor together. And I think the whole way I was a little dubious, like, who's going to come to the Tractor to see the Western State Hurricanes? But we sold out the Saturday show really fast, and the Friday show just has a few tickets left. So you can get the record at the show, beautiful yellow vinyl.
It's so cool. It's gorgeous.
And then it'll be available on all the streaming services, immediately after that. Or maybe not immediately, but shortly after that.
10 minutes after the show. And you call the record Through With Love, and of course some of the songs from Western State Hurricanes went on to become songs by the Long Winters, but I didn't recognize that first song, the title track, Through With Love. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, that was a song that when I wrote it, I felt like it had cowboy chords, and it only had 16 parts instead of our usual 32 parts, and I was maybe a little shy about it. I think we all felt like open G, open D.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned like the highway and dust, I think.
I know. Couldn't you put a 7th chord in there somehow? But then when we remixed it and we're listening to it, it really stood out as a track I never used in the Long Winters, and kind of, just like the sort of pop I think we might have evolved into making if we'd stayed together. A little bit more straight ahead.
Yeah.
The Long Winters really straightened out a lot of these songs. I took whole portions of it out. I took a lot of the 7/11 time out and made it straight. That first Long Winters record I recorded with Joe Bass on bass, and he had this kind of like, let's get out of this grunge business and get into some new, and it was the beginning of what became Seattle indie rock too. So it's been amazing to go back and revisit what we were trying to do with these songs.
Well, looking at you all play together and the big smiles on your faces, I feel like this is a rhetorical question, but I mean, is this fun? Playing
So
these
much
songs,
fun.
getting back together?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
totally, 100%.
Yeah.
Bo, you mentioned that you never stop playing music, and I wonder if that's true for all of you and what you're up to. John, I know you're up to all manner of things. You have your podcast Omnibus, which is Strange But True Story, as on all manner of interesting topics from two know-it-alls.
Well, one of whom is world-recognized know-it-all Ken Jennings, right? Who is now the most famous know-it-all in the country. So I really lucked into that.
So that keeps you busy. And what's everyone else up to these days? It's just so fun to see you again.
Well, Michael and I are still playing together. We're in a band called Neither Bears Nor Forest, and we're actually going to be putting a record out. Pretty. When is that? March? When are we? What does it even mean to put a record out anymore? It means you upload it to Spotify.
That's right.
So that's going to happen. And I play in a little country cover band called Spank Williams with some friends, which is a lot of fun. It's highly entertaining if you get a chance to see it.
Yeah. I played with John the Long Winters for about 3 years, and had a great time kind of rethinking what some of the Hurricane songs were, and it's really, really fun to come back and sort of see what they were in their nascent rockier form.
Yeah, in practice, sometimes these two, Michael and John, have lapsed into playing the Long Winters versions of these songs, and I just have to give them a really big stink eye.
Stink eye for sure.
And no one can stink eye like you.
I have to say that when I took, Josh Rosenfeld from Barsuk, who ended up signing the Long Winters and putting those records out, he had come to Western State shows.
Yeah, I remember him around.
And he and his wife Emily would come, and Emily was a big Western State fan, but Josh felt that we had too many distortion boxes.
Well, that's true.
And so he was not interested in signing us to Barsuk. But then when the Long Winters kind of re-envisioned those songs, we signed and, have had a happy home on Barsuk ever since. But Josh thought we were too loud.
I don't know. He's here listening today. He seems pretty
Oh,
happy.
really?
Yeah.
Who let him in
I
here?
saw him in the hallway.
But what have you been doing, Steph? I'm sorry to jump in there.
No, I've been all over the place. I moved to London and lived there for a long time, and then I came back and I got married, and I started a band with some good friends and my husband called Like Lightning, and we put out a record in 2017. And now my husband and I just moved to outside of LA because we want the sunshine so bad. And we're back here. We're like, oh my god. And we're working on music. We're going to try to put out a record next year, but I mainly teach.
Well, it is so fun to have you all here today. We're live in the KEXP studios with Western State Hurricanes, a brand new record called Through with Love. And tonight they're going to be at Life on Mars up on Capitol Hill. You can hear that record and perhaps chat with the band. And tomorrow night, they've got a show at the Tractor Tavern with some few tickets left and a sold-out show on Saturday night. And again, I'm just so delighted to have you here. Play us a couple more tunes.
We will. I should mention we're playing with the Nevada Bachelors at both shows, who were one of our friend bands back in the 90s. So we got them
Who are
back
also
together, too.
reforming. Yeah, exactly.
It's Western State Hurricanes live on KEXP.
You're so cold, right? You've been cold all night. Now you're holding on like you're holding a child. Your eyes are shining, but it's dark outside. Do you feel alright? Do you feel alright?
Western State Hurricanes live on KEXP. was fabulous. It's Western State Hurricanes live on KEXP. It's a good thing my microphone wasn't on because I was singing along to all those songs. Thank you all so much for coming in. It's so great.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks to KEXP, too. Really appreciate all the support over the years.
Well, it's so fun when we live in a community with such great music and you all come back together and give us a surprise of the last couple of decades. And congratulations on the new record.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You've got it tuned to KEXP Seattle.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.